There are a lot of things floating around on the internet when it comes to metabolism that set people back so many months and could set you back too. So I'm going to hopefully save you some time so you can keep your weight loss goals in check and fight through all the misinformation online. So the first metabolism and weight loss myth is that being obese or being overweight is from a slow metabolism. This is somewhat a myth to some degree. So individuals who are overweight may have a slower metabolism, a very tiny bit though, okay? So the thing about metabolism is that when it comes to the overall calories burned every single day, this variation from person to person is typically very, very small, okay? It's very, very small. There can be a difference, but it is very small in the long term. What often happens with individuals who are overweight is that they have an issue regulating their appetite. So either they feel super hungry all the time, or they lack the ability to feel full very quickly. And typically it's actually a combination of these two things. Having a slow metabolism might be a tiny, tiny part of it, but it's not going to be the biggest thing, okay? And kind of on the flip side, another myth is that skinny people have a faster metabolism. So as I just discussed, this variation is very small at the end of the day. Skinny people might have a tiny bit of a faster metabolism, but for the most part, they just don't get hungry as often and they get full a lot quicker. Okay, that's going to be kind of the main things that usually happen with these people. Again, there's going to be outliers. There will be some people who can literally eat everything and they won't gain any weight. But for the most part, it's going to be from these hunger regulation things. Another common myth is that your metabolism slows down as you age. Now, this is true, but not to the extent that people think. People who are 30 or 40 and they look down and they're like, man, I got that dad bod starting. What in the world is going on? My metabolism is slipping. It doesn't happen like this. Usually your metabolism starts to decline once you hit roughly 55 to 65, so that 60-year-old range. That's when your metabolism truly starts to tank in kind of those overall processes, which might lead to less calorie burn. But what usually happens with most people is that they simply become inactive. And when you become inactive, you're burning less calories in that immediate sense, so your metabolism is slower in that regard. And since you're probably doing less weight training and just using your muscles, you're losing a lot of muscle mass. And muscle mass is metabolically active at rest. And that is one of the best ways to keep your metabolism in check and super high, is to have a lot of muscle so you can be burning calories at rest. So usually for a lot of these individuals, it isn't because necessarily your metabolism is slowing as you age. It's usually because people become less physically active as they age. And from those things, it can lead to, of course, a less overall metabolism. Another weight loss myth is that eating protein will skyrocket your metabolism. Or I should say eating specifically only protein will really skyrocket your metabolism. Now, protein absolutely does increase your metabolism a very tiny bit. And this is because when you eat protein, it takes more energy to digest that food compared to when you eat carbs or when you eat fats, okay? When I say skyrocket, people think that they can literally eat as much protein as possible and this is going to completely negate all the burning off. No. If you are eating too much protein, as in you are now eating in a calorie deficit, but it isn't just protein, it's going to be hard for you to gain fat, but you will gain fat. So it will increase your metabolism very slightly, but it's kind of negligible. It wouldn't be what I call skyrocketing your metabolism. So the next myth that we're going to talk about is weight loss, and this idea that losing weight is all about calories in versus calories out. So when it comes to losing weight, For the most part, the overall amount of calories or energy you consume on a daily basis is going to be highly indicative if you are going to lose weight, okay? But this does not happen for everyone. And there can be a slight hormonal imbalance that happens specifically if people have hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. Now, your thyroid is a gland that produces different hormones that help with your metabolism. And if you have hyperthyroidism, you are likely going to be very skinny. Hypothyroidism, you might be a little more overweight or have a tough time managing your weight. Now, I should say this is not why most people are overweight or obese, but it can be a reason that you are not losing weight too much, and that you can try to control all the calories you want, but it's just very, very difficult for you to actually lose weight or maintain weight for yourself. Now, another thing that people often say to me is like, you can't control your metabolism. That's a complete waste of time. This is another myth. There is a lot of different ways that you can increase your metabolism. Physical activity is great. Getting more sleep, eating that high protein diet as we talked about. There are some supplements. Caffeine will increase your metabolism a tiny bit. Building muscle is great for building lean mass, of course, which increases your resting metabolism, burning more calories at rest. So there are a lot of different things that you can do to control your metabolism. It doesn't make a huge difference in the long term, but these things can make a small difference, and those small changes over time will likely lead you to losing a lot of weight, which is, of course, what we're all trying to do and what we all want to do. 2 more myths. These last 2 will probably get some of you too, and I'm sure you've heard these. But eating more meals increases your metabolism. This is something that has been debunked quite a while ago, and this was often because bodybuilders or people in the fitness scene think that you need to eat literally 6 meals 2 to 3 hours apart every single day because you're going to stoke the metabolic fire. This has been disproven. You can eat 1 meal, you can eat 2 meals. It has really no bearing at all on your daily metabolic rate. You know, you might be able to potentially build muscle a little bit better if you're eating these spaced out meals versus maybe 1 or 2 meals a day. But when it comes to overall metabolic rate and just weight loss in general, or maintaining your weight, it does not really matter in the grand scheme of things. And of course, eating before bed increases your fat gain. Man, this is something that a lot of people think, and unfortunately it's leading them to waste a lot of time and spread more misinformation to people. But eating before bed does not increase your fat gain. It doesn't slow your metabolism. I would recommend try to eating at least 2 hours, maybe 3 hours before bed. I kind of struggle with that. I usually only give it about an hour and a half before I go to bed. But eating before bed, especially a smaller meal, higher in carbs, can actually help people to fall asleep pretty well. And if you have good sleep, guess what? Your metabolism is going to be in check. The calories you eat right before bed aren't just going to become immediately absorbed as fat just right away. It's going to digest eventually, and there might be some discomfort. So again, trying to eat a smaller meal might be kind of more advantageous before bed, but it's not going to gain you any more fat. So go ahead and give this video a like if that provided some value for you so far.